and we love to get started on time. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting subject. It's called being marriage ready. We've got Samira Gupta with us, who's a life and a relationship coach. So we asked a very interesting question on Instagram, and I was really shocked at maybe some of the answers. But we asked the question, are you ready for marriage, or are you being secretly forced? And the answers were pretty interesting for me, at least. Openly forced. I'm being brainwashed. I'm being forced, emotionally blackmailed. I'm being taunted and tormented. So for those of you that can relate, please do type in yes, can relate to this, because I thought this is a new generation and people would be like, no, I'm in charge. But yes, we're hearing some of the same things that I heard maybe in my time. But there are new rules for modern marriages, says Samira Gupta, and there should be no compromises in relationship. Marriage, as we all know, it's a union of two families and two people. It's the beginning of a relationship that is promised for life, a companionship that flourishes as time passes. In this session, we will talk about what are the important to learn and manage to make your relationship better. We are hoping that all boys, girls, men, women who are married, about to get married, family members, everyone plays an integral part of this process. So please join in and let's understand, learn, and have fun together. Samira is an Indian author and a life and relationship coach at Auraa Image Management and Consulting. She helps young people discover whether they're ready for marriage and help them become marriage ready. She's an executive presence coach, a life coach, an image consultant, an emotional wellness coach, a motivational speaker, and an international best-selling author. So wow, wow, wow. So welcome, Samira. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you, Sukirti. Thank you so much for this opportunity to address the audience and talk about this very interesting yet very critical topic. So thank you for that introduction. I'm humbled.
So today we're going to start off with something very easy, because these are some of the questions I have. We're talking about relationships. So what made you take up this area and you do a full 2-day workshop on this?
Well, I wish I could cover in a 2-day workshop, Sukirti. So just to highlight that this topic is so vast and so huge, and I will talk about what all needs to be covered in this entire program. So the program actually lasts for 7 days.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's right. So I wish I could cover everything in 2 days, but that's not really possible because there is so much required to make a good marriage work. It's not just the wedding, and we will talk about what wedding is, and we all get ready for the wedding, but very few of us actually pay attention to get ready for the marriage. So what's the difference? We'll understand that, and we will talk about what makes a successful marriage. Okay, so in the 7-day program, we talk about the image aspects. Okay, so what is the image you want to create in your new family? How should you dress? What's the right outfit for the right occasion? How do you build relationships? How do you communicate tactfully? So all the behavioral aspects, all the expectation management, the conflict management, right?
And lots of conflicts.
Yeah, too many of them. You see, because no matter how similar your family backgrounds are, there is going to be differences, right? So how to learn about those differences, how to learn to appreciate them, how to manage expectations, like you said, there are too many of them. So all of this requires time, and all of this requires a certain amount of self-work and transformation in your mindset. Okay, so that mindset transformation takes that much time. So once you start knowing about respect, responsibility, your acceptance, your allowance, your, so many other things, your etiquette, your host etiquette, your guest etiquette, everything is covered in this program. So there is so much more. It's not just the behavioral aspect. It's the how to make that marriage a beautiful one, how to make that new entry into a new house a happy and a successful one. So it takes a lot.
I just want to clarify for boys and for girls, so people
don't
think that we're only talking about girls, because we get a lot of spanking on that. So this is actually for both parties that we're talking about.
For the boy, thank you for correcting me, Sukirti. For the boy, how to welcome the newcomer into the family, right? How to make sure that You make that person feel more comfortable, more at home, more valued, more respected, more loved. Because if some new person comes into your family, it becomes the boy and the boy's family's responsibility. I would say a bigger responsibility to make her yours. So, how does that work? And we're going to talk about all of that.
So tell us first, I mean, this concept, because I think we're a lot, like I was talking with you, that we're all confused. We want all the modern marriages, we want the tradition, we want everything. So, what is a modern marriage and what is the biggest challenge that we are facing today?
So, I'm not sure how to answer the modern marriage concept, but yes, a lot has changed from where we were to where we are now. Now, I have been in a marriage for 31 years. So, yes, the expectations at that time, the whole mindset and outlook at that time versus now is very different. I think today's couples are more in competition. There's more comparison thanks to social media and thanks to the ideal films and ideal bahus and ideal damads and ideal mother-in-laws. So there's a lot of pressure from the social media. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of judgment from both sides, and there is a constant need for external validation on who you are, how you're living your life, where do you go on a holiday, what do you wear, everything. So there's a lot of pressure on these couples today, which wasn't the case earlier. So because of that pressure and the need to be equal in a relationship, that okay, I educated enough, I'm earning enough, so why should I do all the chores and all the why should I take the responsibilities? And it's both sides, and the guys are still from the same traditional mindset, and that hasn't changed, unfortunately, enough, where they feel that, yeah, I can come back, put my feet up and sit down and not do much. And the girl has to do, the outside job and the inside job and still be the ideal bahu. So the pressure is really high. In a lot of ways, we have changed and evolved, but in many ways, we still remain the same old mindset of how a typical bahu should be. Okay, so I think from both sides, it's required that both partners come forward, both families come forward and work on the mindset and the attitude to make this relationship work.
So, Samira, I know I have lots of questions, but one last one before I hand it off to you. But the idea of coaching, because of course, I know in the Western side, you had to meet with the priest. You see this in the movies all the time, right? You go to the church and they're giving you some kind of guidance. But here we just get very casual guidance on okay, what to do. I don't know if there's even any kind of structured guidance. So why do you, I mean, and we typically, even in the management side, we shy away from coaching because if somebody tells us go get coached, we feel there's something wrong with us. But why do you feel it's important that girls and boys especially start talking about this, start really openly discussing this?
So I think most of us are in a denial mode. We don't even accept that there is an issue. That's the biggest problem, that we don't accept that there is an issue. And because of that, we are not open and we are unwilling to go to any coach or a counselor. Right? So first we have to accept that it is a very important decision of our lives. And thus we have to get knowledge about it. So the basic knowledge about what marriage is all about and what does it require. So everyone, and I keep talking about the same thing, that everyone is focused on making a big grand wedding. But no one's going beyond the wedding. That after the wedding is over, what happens then? Okay, so we were just discussing before everybody came into the webinar that a newly wedded couple is going through issues, so whether the issues are from the mother-in-law side or the husband side or the nanad side, but the issue is that did anybody coach her what to expect? Did anybody coach her on how to conduct herself? Did anybody coach the mother-in-law that, okay, there's a newcomer coming in and you don't own her and you have to be nice to her to make her yours, to make her feel comfortable. So there is no coaching. So coaching is required on all sides, not just the girl and the boy, but the families. They all need to know. So if they're spending crores on the wedding or lakhs on the wedding, it's not about the wedding. It's more about what happens after the wedding. What's the mindset? What do you want to create together? Why are you getting your son or daughter married?
So, yeah, no, totally true. And I'm going to leave you with two more questions that don't answer them now, but anyway, throughout. One, of course, is the fact that the pressure that parents put on their own children, and what is that conversation? And second, what are that conversation that you should be having with your significant other before taking the big step? Now, over to you, Samira. I know I have tons of questions. I can monopolize your time for the entire 45 minutes.
No problem. So I'll answer this question later. I want to share my screen. Can I do that?
Yes, please do.
All right. Thank you, Sukirti. So good evening, everyone, once again. And I want to throw this question to you, and you can chat in the type in the chat box. What does being marriage ready mean to you? All these people who are about to get married, already married, okay, or happily married for a couple of years, maybe 10, 20, 30 years. What does being marriage ready mean to you?
So Dhanu says commitment. I said emotionally ready.
Okay.
Nanka says being mentally prepared. Rumi says being ready to share my life with another.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful.
Suchita says partnership. Companionship, says Seema. Vandana says companionship. Nitisha, companionship. Akshita, taking the next step of our life. Soma says healthy bonding. Tanisha, compatibility. Abhi Rami says willing to take responsibility and accountability. Amita says vows. Pooja says acceptance of the other person in my space. Ruchi says thinking about our partner also. Radhika says supporting each other. Prachi says compromise. Ooh, compromise. Interesting.
Yeah. So you see the expectations just from that marriage ready concept. What does it mean to you? It means so much more. So what is companionship? When you say that I'm expecting companionship out of marriage, what does it mean to you? What is companionship, by the way? Quickly, just people who said companionship. Friendship. So I'm assuming somebody you can talk to, somebody you can spend time with, somebody who shares the same interests, similar interests.
Manasi says equal give and take. Suchita is saying sharing and caring. Amita says partner in life.
Wow. And what happens when you are
sharing our sorrows and happiness? Seema says sharing life. Vandana being there for each other.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. All of this is correct. All of this is correct. But some conflict happens. What happens then? Do you feel distanced from your partner? Do you start judging? Do you start getting angry? Yeah. So what happens to the commitment? What happens to the companionship? What happens to sharing and caring? So this is exactly my point here. We all know what a marriage should be, a good marriage or successful marriage should be all about. But how much are we willing to give in to make it into a successful marriage? Okay, so let's talk about that. Wedding ready. What does wedding ready mean to you?
A big party, no. Getting the outfits.
Yeah, exactly. It means that you have to find the designer for your, outfits, your major spread of the buffet and the decor and the gifts and all of that, right? All of that happens. Salon treatment, mehndi time and choreographing the performances and everything. So that's the wedding. How much time and money and energy and intent is spent in being wedding ready? A lot. And a lot of money is spent in becoming wedding ready. But why is it that we have most of the marriages in today's world not being successful, despite having such successful weddings? So a successful wedding does not equal a successful marriage. Okay, so what happens there? Let's look at some of the stats. I've taken Indian stats. 10 million weddings per year in India and growing. Okay, at least 30,000 weddings per day.
Wow.
And growing. Okay, Budget range 20 lakhs to 700 crores.
That
And
must be the Ambanis, the 700 crore.
you're bang on. You're absolutely right. Okay. So I have shared a link here. Okay. Now, if you go to this link, you will have all those top 10 most expensive weddings of our country. And yes, Isha Ambani is number one. Okay. Most of these people, I would say the divorce rate in India is the lowest. But do you know why?
Because we refuse to get divorced.
Yeah, because we live in denial. One, we live in denial. Two, we don't have the courage. Three, we may have economic issues. Three, we have peer pressure, social pressure, family pressure. So we don't want to take the decision. But how many people are actually suffering because of this? So a wedding is not a marriage. A wedding is only the beginning of an undertaking. What the couple have, right? The wedding day is not the key to a beautiful garden, it's just a vacant lot and a few gardening tools. And those are the tools we will talk about today. Some of the tools, I mean, 1 hour is a short time, but I'll make the most of it. It is easy to mistake being ready for a wedding with being ready for marriage. So what hurts me, Sukirti, the most when I try to tell people that this is very important in their lives to go through the program is because everybody is spending money on the wedding, but not focusing on how to make a marriage successful. Okay, so these life skills that we are going to talk about are not only going to help these couples and these families to have a happy relationship, but also in a social setting, in a professional setting, these life skills will work. Okay, so co-creating marriages based on bonding, understanding, and companionship, which most of us in the group understand already and appreciate that. So let's look at some of the aspects, okay, of marriage ready. Now, why have I taken this picture here? Because marriage means the moment you say, I do, it's actually meant to be forever. Because if there was no commitment, there was no need to get married. Okay, so what happens when the wedding is over? There is conflict. On small things, there is a disagreement. There is a blame game. And then there is a competition that I'm also right. And this is what creates more conflict. Okay, so less tolerance. The husband that was the boyfriend who was very, precious, the moment becomes husband and starts snoring, that becomes a big issue. So even the smallest thing becomes a problem. We are unable to talk. We are two different people. We are unable to understand. So we've just been thrown into that relationship, make it work, but no one has really taken time to understand each other and know the fact that matrix changes after you get married to the same person.
Samira, I want to ask that question. Why is that? Because this is the biggest question that everybody, and guys, please also keep putting in your questions because we will be throwing them to Samira as we go along. That as a boyfriend, everybody thinks life is perfect, life is great. What is that switch that goes off that once you become husband and wife, that equation changes?
All right. So till you are not married, you're not committed. And there is always, human mind is designed to live in fear. Okay. So there is always this fear that I might lose him or her. So the mindset is very different because you don't belong to each other. You have made a certain commitment, but you are not tied together until the marriage happens. And the moment the marriage happens, you know that this person is not going anywhere.
Now, Sambhavi is asking a big question because live-ins, a lot of people are advocating that is marriage also just an old concept,
Yeah, it's the same thing. See, what happens is if you start living in together, there is no legal ties. Okay, I mean, unless it's a very long one, and then I think the law is recognizing it. But I'm saying that if you're living in together and there's no legal tie, there is always this thought that you can walk out whenever you want to. So the foundation of a living in relationship is based on fear. Because if I commit and if I get married, then I'm tied to this person and I can't walk out easily. But the fact that you're choosing to have a live-in relationship, now you may say that, oh, I want to try this person, I want to see if this is working out, and if I'm sure, then I will get into wedding or getting married to this person. If you're not sure today, I'm not sure how many times or how much time will it take for you to be sure about that. Okay, so I'm not very sure about the living relationships. Not that I'm against it. People have a right to be happy. People have a right to decide what's the best thing for them. And if they take time, this is the route to take. That's okay. But I'm saying the foundation itself is that, you know what, I'm willing to live with you, but I'm not willing to commit to you. So there is always a doubt there. There is always a lower degree of commitment there.
Thank you for clarifying that. So a lot of things are coming in about expectations, but I will let you continue. And Benjamin also has a question, which we will take towards the end.
Okay. All right. So I'll go forward. So I'll say that, so like I said in the beginning, that a lot of this idealism and expectation is happening because of the serials, the movies that we are watching. And there is constant expectation, whether it's Bollywood or these typical serials there, that, the ideal bahu has to be like this. No matter what she does outside, she's a director, she's a senior corporate professional, but the moment she comes home, she has to be that typical bahu. Same goes with the damat, same goes with the groom, that the groom has to be really nice, always available for the family, always doing things. So I think the main issue which I would like to address in today's talk is about managing your expectations, understanding what is the real life scenario, how much you expect from each other, and how to manage. So before saying, what do I get? Be willing to ask, what am I giving in the relationship? So it's all about the whole mindset shift again, that, okay, my husband should go down on the knees, my husband should give me a diamond ring, my husband should give me this on Karwa Chauth. All of these things, this is all coming from the social media. So how do you manage, and how do you say that, okay, this is what my life is, this is how it's looking like, and how can I make my life better, my relationship better, not having any external pressure, any external influence into my life? It's a tough thing to do, but if you have enough faith in yourself, in both the partners, then you can make it work. Okay? So again, unrealistic expectations and representations. Too many cooks, hum saath saath hai, family interference. Okay, now you said that this is a union of two families. That's how marriages are made in our country. And when that happens and you start living together, then you have to manage not just your partner's expectation, but your mother-in-law's expectation, your sister-in-law's expectation, your father-in-law's expectation, and so on. So now what happens is that why I will speak a little more about the girl here, because the girl has to manage many expectations rather than the guy. Okay, so here my submission would be that the girl has to be very clear as to what she's getting into. She must be strong, she must be assertive, she has to stand up, speak up for herself. She has to also be curious to know who everybody is like and how I can manage the relationships, how I can build rapport. So this, if you go with that mindset that I'm giving in my best, then you expect the same in return. It may or may not happen all the time, but at least you're making the right move. Okay?
So Amrita is asking a question. Expectations is also adjusting in a way. Is it the same? Are expectations and adjusting?
I don't get the question. Can you clarify a little more? Expectations are different from adjustment because they're actually opposites, if you ask me. Expectations is that I will live my way. This is what I want. This is what I expect from you. Adjustment is that I'm willing to do it your way. So they're actually not the same. Have I answered your question, or do you have something else?
If not, we will take it in the Q&A.
Okay, fine. So then what happens because of all of this that you are not coached. Sukirti, like you asked in the beginning, that nobody likes to be coached. So when you are entering into something new, unknown waters, and I say unknown waters because no matter how similar the family backgrounds are and the upbringing is, it is still an unknown water. So when you enter without proper coaching, without preparation, without the right mindset, okay, you have unwillingness to I won't use the term adjust, but I would say unwillingness to be a part of that new family and new circumstances, new situations. You will be facing unhappiness because a lot of things will be different and not as per your desire. There will be competition, assumptions, a lot of assumptions, because we are not groomed to say everything that we feel. Unfortunately, culturally we are like that बड़ों के सामने नहीं बोलना है और ज़्यादा नहीं बोलते हैं, छोटे लोगों को चुप रहना चाहिए, everything is not to be expressed. So there are a lot of assumptions that happen. There is a feeling of competition, there is resentment, and slowly when all of this starts building up, you are in for a lot of trouble. And this is what is happening, that a lot of people are unhappy in the marriages because of ego, friction, miscommunication. I said something, you understood something else because you didn't know how to communicate clearly, completely, and with compassion. So you said something which was misunderstood. But we don't take responsibility. We say, oh, that person misunderstood. Did we try to give a clear communication? Maybe not.
So Benjamin is asking very interesting question. In today's generation gap, how much does liking the family matter? And how much does melding with the family matter?
In today's world, what has changed in today's world, Benjamin? We're still Indians. We still are culturally very, very connected with the families. And in India, for a very, very long time, even in the times to come, the situation will still be the same. It's never a marriage of two people. It's always a marriage of two families. Okay, so yes, it matters because you will be meeting them, you will be spending time with them, even if you don't live with them, but you will spend time with them, right? So the adaptability there, understanding there, emotional intelligence there, empathy there is very, very important. So I hope that answers the question, but if there's a specific thing in your mind, I'm happy to take that at the end of the presentation. Okay, all right. Okay, so some interesting stats. Globally, like I said, divorce rates are really, really high, but in India, it's very, very low, 1%. So 1% is still 30,000 ka 300, right? So is it supposed to be a good thing that we have low divorce rates? Does it not indicate that there are more happy marriages in India?
Definitely not.
Well, so like we discussed in the beginning, that the only reason most couples don't opt for divorce is because they are either fearful as to what will happen, they are insecure, they are under pressure, and they just don't want to. It's a taboo. Okay, it's a taboo to separate. But how many people actually separate? At least 4 times more. They don't opt for divorce, but they are separating. And all of this conflict is happening. Why? Why? Because of, again, the fact that we are not investing enough in ourselves to be that person who can be liked, who can be loved, who can be lived with, who can help other people grow and really be the person that you want to be. So how can you be yourself? Unless you're free from your mind, from your emotions, you can never feel yourself. So I will also talk about the various tips before we take the questions, because that's really important. I have put them down for you. So there's a difference between wedding and marriage. Make sure you want a husband and a life together, not just a diamond and a party. Like Sukirti said, great marriage is not when the perfect couple comes together. It is when an imperfect couple learns to enjoy the differences. So same differences we enjoy pehle, jab shaadi nahi hoti hai, and after marriage, everything changes because we start judging the other person. We feel we own the other person, and we take the other person for granted. So for all of these reasons, because we say, oh, this person belongs to me now, so this person has to do everything as per my desire, as per my choice. So we become very self-centered. And good marriage and successful marriage is about respect and appreciation and admiration. And this is what we need to get at as human beings, right? So we get caught up in the doing bit, that, okay, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this, but we forget that we are human beings. We have to be this nice person. We have to be this loving and caring person. We have to let go. We have to be compassionate and kind. So I think that part, the being part, gets missed out the moment you get married. So here are some of the tips. So when you make that commitment, when you do make that commitment and say, I do, make sure that you're committing yourself forever. Otherwise, there is no need to get married. You can be friends, you can live in together, you can spend years together and separate. But the moment you make a commitment, say, I do, that means forever. Don't abuse, but admire and appreciate. It's very, very tough. It's not that I'm not an accusing or an abusing person. We've all been there and done that in our marriages. But I have learned and understood that this is something that really strains the relationship, and you slowly start drifting away from each other because you're constantly abusing the other partner. And when I say abuse, I'm saying that, constantly saying, don't do this, don't do that, and don't be this person, etc. Don't deny or ignore. So if there is an issue, address it immediately. Don't live in a denial that, okay, it's not there, everything is all right. It's not. Okay, so if one partner is feeling a certain way, it needs to be acknowledged, it needs to be addressed. And the only way to address it immediately is have an open and fair conversation. And a lot of times I feel when I coach these people, who are going through tough relationships and even come in this program, is that there is a lack of communication. So lack of communication is the biggest issue of not addressing a problem that is slowly brewing in this relationship. Okay, so don't hold on to grudges. Learn. I learned this from my father-in-law, and when I used to get angry and we had fights, he said, Samira, raat gayi, baat gayi. No matter how angry you are, the next day should be a fresh day. And I caught on to that. So free yourself to be yourself, which means that don't hold on to grudges. We, especially women, are very designed to connect everything from the past and future and everything. Jo ho gaya, it's history. Whatever happened 5 minutes ago is history. So don't hold on to it. Free yourself from all the grudges to make it work. Don't own each other. I have this beautiful excerpt that I've taken from Khalil Gibran when he spoke about marriage, what marriage is all about. And that book changed my life. Allow space and yet evolve together. Okay, so you don't have to do everything together. If you can't spend time with yourself, doing things that make you happy, you will never be able to do that with the other partner. So don't become clingy. Don't expect the other partner to be there with you all the time just because you have gotten married. Learn to spend time with yourself. Learn to be with yourself. Learn to enjoy with yourself. And only then, when your cup is full, then you can give out to the other person. Okay? Don't expect, cultivate a giver mindset. So like I said, ask not what you are getting in this relationship, but ask what you're giving into this relationship. Now that is again a mindset shift. So if you have a giver mindset, you will never be deprived of anything because you're always giving, right? Your hand is not like this. Your hand is always like this. So you're giving it.
I have a question here. When you're a giver, but you always think that you'll get something back, right? And when you don't, and you're only the giver, what happens then? Sorry, because this one is one that we often hear women say they're giving. And then finally they get fed up because they don't get that reciprocity.
Yeah, because there is again an expectation that if I'm giving, so one of my clients said that, you know what, I do so much for my cousins, I give so many gifts to them, I do so much, but you know what, it hurts me when they don't reciprocate it.
Yes.
So if you are giving with the mindset of expecting in return, then you're not really giving. It's transactional. I'm talking about transformational relationship. Now, I'm not saying that you become, that person that you allow everybody to walk all over you and misuse you. If that is what you're talking about. I'm also talking about being assertive and saying no to things that you don't want to say yes to. Giving doesn't mean that you will just keep giving and feel bad even if you don't want to give and you are giving. I'm saying the mindset should be, I'm not taking, but I will give as much as I can, how much ever I can, with no expectation in return.
And Samira, you have to tell us, how do we say no to the mother-in-law? Because we're going to take that tip from you after you're done with your tips.
Yes, I will certainly tell you that. I will certainly tell you that. I can give you one tip quickly right here. Buy a gift for her. And if she says, because she's a typical, and she says, hey, I don't like the color, or I don't like this, or I already have this. Oh, really? Okay, so I'll take it back and I will bring another thing another time. And that's when she says, no, I'll keep it. Okay. So I'm saying that be tactful. You don't have to have any kind of bitterness in a relationship. If you are smart enough, if you worked on your mindset, if you worked on your communication, if you worked on your tact, you can manage any relationship with so much ease that it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm telling you that this works. But you've got to work on yourself. You've got to invest time, money, energy, intent in making yourself that person who's completely free, who's not plugged in all the time and say, oh my God, what did she say? What did he say? I'm hurt. You will always be hurt if you have not invested in yourself. Right? So how do you become that person that nothing bothers you? You're free.
That's very hard.
It's hard, but it's possible, Sukirti, because I've
Right.
been there, I've done that, and I've made my clients do it and experience it. So I know it's possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So don't blame. It's very easy to blame others for what they are doing, but it's very, very difficult again to take responsibility for the world you want to live in and the world that you're creating for yourself. So 100%, whatever happens in your life is your creation. But nobody believes that. No, how is it possible? That person did this to me. That person said that to me. Mother-in-law did this. Sister-in-law did this. No, you were the cause. And what is happening now is the effect. So you have to understand that what did I do? So every time something like that happens, pay attention. Try to decode what happened. What did I do? What did I say? Why is this happening? And what's here to learn for me? What is my learning from this? How can I handle this better next time? So don't conclude and say, this is what happened, this is it. That is very easy. But can you leave the door open and say, okay, this is what has happened. Now, what are my options? What can I do better next time? How can I handle this better next time? So don't conclude. The moment you conclude, there's a judgment and there's a door closed. Don't close doors. Keep them open. It's okay. Because one small problem, one small incident does not define you, does not make you take certain decisions towards a much bigger step that you might take. Okay, so don't put yourself last. When I say have a giver mindset, it doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself. Don't put yourself last. Love yourself, honor yourself, protect yourself, and fill your goddamn glass. Do everything that you want to make yourself happy. Not at the cost of your happiness will you give to others, but the mindset is a giver mindset, which will make you peaceful, happy, energized, excited. Okay? Because the mindset of expectation is a mindset of deprivation, but a mindset of a giver is a mindset of abundance. So if you work on that part, you become a much happier person. And don't give up. Stand up for yourself, express yourself, and say no tactfully. So even if the boy has to say no to the wife for a vacation, how to say that, how tactfully to handle that is something that is really, really magical. So it's really the assertiveness combined with tact, because here we are dealing with emotions, feelings, and a lot of important relationships in life. So assertiveness along with tact is very, very critical. Use heart over head. The moment you get married and go into this relationship, it's important that you start using your head less. Analysis, logic, judgment, give it some rest. Open your heart. Be more loving, be more kind, be more caring, be more forgiving, be more letting go. Okay, so that is a function. All of these are the functions of the heart. But if we always operate from our mindset, from our head, then we are always going to start decoding what's happening. Why did you say that? What did this happen? Why did this happen? Etc. Etc. And then you have stories playing in your head all the time. And then those stories will start spiraling down and will pull you down. And then you have assumptions and you have some wrong interpretations, because the communication is not clear. The communication is not complete. The communication is not concrete. So everything is left to certain assumptions and certain beliefs that you're carrying about the mother-in-law. Most of the girls get into marriage thinking that, oh my God, mother-in-law is a demon, because that's how they had a belief. Okay. So now in this situation, I have also come across many mother-in-laws who are very kind, who are very loving, but a perception is such. Okay. So don't take each other for granted. Always be curious to discover something new about each other on a regular basis. So talk, spend time, kiss each other, even if it's a peck, and spend, hold hands. These are things we just stop doing after getting married. So physical intimacy is very, very important. Respect and responsibility is very, very important. So this, I found something very interesting. They've defined marriage here. So what do you need? You need mutual love, assurance, respect, reliability, integrity, affection, genuineness, and endurance. That's what marriage is all about. So a lot of self-work. Now I want to show this beautiful, poem, I should call it poem, from Khalil Gibran. Just listen to this. This is so beautiful. I hope you can hear the sound is clear.
Then Almitra spoke again and said, "And what of marriage, master?" And he answered, saying, "You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Aye, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow.
Yeah. So what does it say? It says that let there be spaces. Let there be spaces between you. But what happens is that the moment we get married, we start thinking that we own each other and we take each other for granted, and we become clingy at times and unable to understand that each partner, yeah, let there be spaces in your togetherness. That's absolutely right, Rumi. And that is so magical that, give each other the bread, but never eat from the same loaf. Drink the same tea, but never from the same cup. So learn to be alone, which is what I said initially, that there should be, and there must be aloneness in the togetherness, which means allow the other person to be that the person is and grow together, help each other to grow, but never really own each other. So with that, I will, let me see if I have any more slides. Yeah, give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your heart. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart. With that, I want to end, and I'm happy to take questions.
The first one we'll take from Manju. Manju, go ahead.
Do you think that both need to temper their individuality, when they come together? And also, I think with mothers-in-law, you need to treat them a bit like mothers. Because from my own experience, I'm saying that, because it can't be the same relationship, but you have to establish it, you have to work at it and say, she's like my mother. So, you have to rebuild a new relationship. And as you said, it was wonderful listening to you, and you have to be tactful for any relationship, whether with your friends or with your family or with your husband or your, everywhere it's very important. So actually, I just wanted to, ask you whether, it's necessary for both the individuals to work on tempering, not being so individualistic, being, of course, themselves, but not very individualistic. So what would you like, what are your views on that?
Yeah, thank you, Manju, for this brilliant sharing and the question. And I will answer the second part first.
Yeah.
Should you treat your mother-in-law as your mother? The answer is absolutely yes. Because if you get into a new family with the right mindset, with the positive mindset, things are going to be different. It's like in NLP, we train people how to reframe your thoughts. If you have a negative thought, then you will expect the negative, and then you will react in the same manner. But if you enter with a positive thought that, yes, I'm going to have a new mother, and I have to give her the same respect and love, etc., then your mindset is more forgiving and more accepting and more allowing. Okay, so I completely agree with that. Now, do both the partners should be tempering down their individuality? I would say that, as long as it doesn't interfere with the other person's, personality, then it's fine. However, understanding again what the other person likes or dislikes and what I can manage in me will be a great starting point.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that you have to change yourself
completely. No.
You don't have to. But having said that, understanding what the other person, what are certain values which are important for the other person, and what are my values, and how I can find a common ground, right?
Right, absolutely. And also, I think it's a good idea, at the beginning of the relationship to agree to disagree on small things at least. We can't agree on everything, and, so we agree to disagree.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
If there is a little rule book,
Yes.
we can agree on and say, well, these are the things that we will go by,
Yeah.
that no matter what happens, we are never going to separate. And
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
happens, we will
Yes.
resolve it by communicating. And
Absolutely.
whatever happens, we are never going to yell at each other. And whatever
Yeah.
happens, we will forget about it the next morning.
Yes, absolutely. Most important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Manju. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amrita, go ahead.
Yes, Samira. Hi, Samira, and hi, Sukriti. Well, I mentioned about adjusting in a way to expectations. And I think adjustment is also very important as to whatever is expected of each other. So I just want some more clarity on that. And also, we can take decisions on our own if we like our partner. Is it necessary to discuss with parents and family? Because sometimes parents agree and at times not. And the last question is about the gifting. I always think we given a lot, give and take is declining. Why?
Which question do you want me to take first?
You can go by with the first one, which is the expectations is also adjusting in a way.
So
between the partners, yeah.
I'm very sorry, but I need little more clarity on the question, because I said that earlier, that expectations, are these expectations from your end and then you want the partner to adjust, or are the expectations from the partner and you want to adjust?
I think it should be at both ends, right? To adjust, because adjustment is very important, right? It can be from his side or it can be from my side. But what I'm thinking, it's an adjustment, isn't it? Mutually.
So I'm not looking at this term in a negative connotation, the word adjustment. However, I would use different term for it. I would say understanding and coming together, rather than labeling it as adjustment, because adjustment really means that you're doing something which is not in the most comfortable manner. However, but it's not a negative word. So adjust is fine as long as we are not giving away something which is very important to us in the process of adjusting. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Does it or no?
Yes. In a way, right? In a positive way, right?
Yeah.
And about the family, the second question, ma'am.
So should the couple discuss with family, take their buy-in before getting married? Is that your second question?
Is it necessary? Yes, because sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't agree. So it's always a fallacy.
If the family matters, and you are going to need the family in your life, then the answer is yes. If you're choosing to completely walk away from the family, and if the family is not giving you a buy-in, and this marriage and this partner is really, really important to you, then you are an adult, you can take a decision. But then you take a decision, then you walk out and you stick to it, right? There are certain decisions which are tough in your life. You still have to take them if they are very, very important for you, and you have to stick to those decisions. So I would say if the family matters and you are going to need the family in your life because life is long, then yes, you need a buy-in. Okay. And if you are completely willing to walk away, then that's a decision you have to make.
You need in the family. it's a wish, isn't it?
No, it's so. I know it's tough because you want the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Now think about it. If the family has disapproved of this marriage and the marriage happens, don't you think there will be a constant friction most of the times, because it was a marriage which was initially disapproved and they probably succumbed to the pressure and allowed it? But there is always going to be this mindset of, okay, we didn't select this girl or the boy, and there is going to be a constant friction throughout.
And the give
I
and
go
take,
through that. Sorry.
okay, it's to the point. Give and take, it's always, we say give and take, but doesn't happen. Why?
No, so give and take again is like you're doing it out of expectation. So okay, if I make your bed today, you make my bed tomorrow, so that those transactions will never end because your expectations will keep on increasing. Today it is this, tomorrow it will be something else, day after, and then you don't get it back, then you will start depleting your own energy, your own happiness, because you are doing things with the mindset of expecting, and that doesn't come back to you for whatever reason, you're going to be forever unhappy. And that's why I said cultivate a giver mindset. So you're doing something, you do it, don't expect anything in return. Do it if you want to do it. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. Period. Be that strong. Be that clear that I will do it because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. And I will not do it if I don't want to do it.
So Samira, we'll take the next question from Nisha. It's very interesting. When meeting people through dating apps or matrimonial sites, how does one gauge compatibility since you get to spend so little time with each other?
So spend more time. It's very simple. Spend more time. Don't jump into it. It's a big decision of your life. Spend more time. Take more time. But sometimes in few conversations, you know the thought process, you know the attitude, you get to know a lot. If you think that you don't know enough, please spend more time. Don't jump into it.
Tina is asking, suppose I have good vibes with my partner and I decide to take it forward to marriage. How do I convince my family in India that my decision is right? Because as you said, family is important.
How do I convince my family? Again, have a clear conversation, understand what the family is looking for, and give it to them that, you know, these are the parameters that you have in mind, and this partner fulfills 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and I'm willing to take the risk for the balance. Right? It may sound simple, but then this is the only way that, you know, why would parents say no? Parents would say no because either the partner is not educated enough, or the partner is not earning enough, or the partner doesn't have a good family. These are the criteria, right? These are the things that people have in their mind, the parents have in mind. So tell them, you know, make them understand, tell them that these are things that, you know, these are the criteria that he's fulfilling or she is fulfilling, and the others are not quite there, but I'm willing to take that risk. Because then that is your decision, right?
So Prachi is also asking, can you elaborate? And I think a lot of people are asking what space means in a marriage.
Okay. So space means allowing the other person to be. So if the husband comes back and is watching Avengers, and that's what he enjoys doing, that's what he was doing before getting married, but after getting married, he has to watch a Saas Bahu Ka serial. Why? So it's a very small example, but I'm saying that appreciate the different interests. Allow the people to do what they want to do, what they enjoy doing. That is space. So it doesn't mean that let's do everything together. No. Allow the other person to enjoy, relax, rejuvenate in their own way, and appreciate that. There are times you will come together, like the track of the train, you go together, sometimes you come together, sometimes you go apart. Okay, so allow that space, go together, be together, but doesn't mean you have to be spending time all the time. I just gave you this powerful poem by Khalil Gibran where he said, drink the same tea, not from the same cup. That's the space. Appreciate the individuality, the different personalities, the different interests, the different likes and dislikes. And that is why I'm saying it's very important to learn to be with yourself, learn to enjoy and do things that you like, because otherwise you will become clingy, you will take away your space and you will take away your partner's space. and you will mess up everything. And then you'll say, oh, he doesn't come to me. He doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. She doesn't come with me to the parties.
Samira, two last questions that we always get asked. One, of course, how to say no tactfully. And the second question is how to discuss finances, because this is a tough one, especially for most people. Before marriage, they don't actually talk about this.
So which one would you like me to take first?
Either one, and then your last closing
Okay.
tip.
Okay. So how to tactfully say no. So Sukirti, you have just requested me for another talk next week.
Yeah, I keep doing that. This is my tactful way of always getting you
know.
back.
I know. So I would really love to do that. But having said that, I have my entire calendar blocked for next week. And much as I would like to do it, next week seems absolutely impossible. Okay, so I would request you to consider my next talk with you on sipping thoughts in the month of March, because for next week and for the next month, I have a big assignment that I'm working on. Okay, but I want you to know that I'm always there whenever you need me to take up a talk.
Thank you. Oh, that was brilliantly done. Also,
So what I did is I used the method which is called the prep method. I made a point that I love you, but I'll leave you. I really want to do it, but I can't. Okay. Then I gave a reason as to why I can't do it. And then I explained the reason, and then I made the point again. So when you give a reason and explain it, there are going to be no hard feelings, because you're not just saying no. You're actually taking the time, giving the impression to the other person that you care about them, and you want to do it, but you can't really do it for XYZ reason. And the reason is good enough, or you explain it in such a way that it sounds like, it's really keeping you busy, and then say no. So tact is important, because tact is like, telling someone to go drown, and you say it in a way that they look forward to it. That's what tact is. So you say it in such a nice manner. So usko sugar coat nahi karna hai. I'm not saying that you coat it with sugar, but you give the impression to the other person that you care about the other person. And that's when no does not come out very harshly.
Pooja also says very effective technique for the workplace too. And the second one, the discussion of finance, because this is a very tricky one. A lot of people don't like to have this conversation.
So what about finances?
Just discussing how much do you make, how will we live, how will we spend, these basic questions that
That is because, so you're right. That is always a tough conversation. It's an uncomfortable zone for people to discuss that. But this is again a function of how we are programmed and how we grew up. पैसे पेड़ पे नहीं लगते, पैसा बहुत मेहनत से आता है, पैसे को बचा के रखो. So it's our relationship with money, okay? And if we treated money as nothing but a source of energy, okay, and an energy which is in the flow, it comes and goes, and this is an important aspect to discuss. The conversations and communication around it will become easier. So it's in our minds that we think, oh, finance means problem, how to discuss it. It's not easy. But I think it's just one other conversation. Like you want to discuss sex in a marriage. Okay, what kind of sex would you like? What I like, what you like, all of that, because these are two adults discussing what their life is going to look like, right? It's the same thing. So I'm sure as it is difficult to talk about money, it's the same about sex. So, but both the things should be very openly discussed and talked about, because these things are important in a married relationship.
No, thank you. And that was very great. And any last thoughts you'd like to give us before we end for today?
Pooja had a question, I think. She was raising her hand.
Oh, sorry. I did not see Pooja's. I'll just unmute her. Go ahead, Pooja.
Thank you so much. And I think that's been addressed in several of the questions that others have asked. What I really wanted to understand, sometimes it feels like marriage comes with a set of rules, and sometimes it feels like we need to have certain guardrails. It's been 1.5 years since I've been married, and now the more and more I uh, get deeper into the relationship, it seems like we need to set some guardrails. So it, how does one effectively, navigate into these when you've been married for 31 years? So how did you do that effectively, right? For an effective marriage, do we set these guardrails? And if we do, then how do we really have that communication with the partner? Okay, these are places where I want to set some rules. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Pooja. So what I will say is that when I came in to my married home, yes, there were certain expectations, quite a few, and certain rules in place. So I was living by those rules, and I was doing everything that was expected out of me. And then I realized at some point in time that I was not living my life and I was living their life. And that's when I started putting my rules into place. And now I live by my rules, and I've made those rules as our rules. Okay. And very, I would say, intelligently, smartly, effectively, tactfully. Now, those are common rules that we follow. But then I had to really stand up for myself, and I had to make sure that I'm living my life and not somebody else's life. And that life was still a responsible life. Okay, let me put it this way: it was a very responsible, conscious life with no bitterness. But at the same time, it was important for me to fill my cup and know what was important for me in terms of my values, my purpose in life, my desires, my likes, my dislikes, all of that. So unless you take control of all of that, it's going to be tough to be happy. Yeah. So I hope you all liked this session, and if you did, please also, I would request you to go and give us some likes on our page. Nanika can share the link here. You can give us some likes, some stars, some comments. I would love that. And we also have a program. Sukirti, do I have your permission to talk about it?
Yes, do tell.
So we have a program on Marriage Ready, and this is again coming from the same, the need that I felt there was, that helping people to not just become unhappy and unsuccessful in their marriages, but we really want to help as many people as we can before they get into marriage, or people who are already married, who understand that it's not difficult to have a happy marriage life. Okay, it's easy, it's possible, and it's doable. So, but it requires definitely a lot of work. So in that program, we cover all aspects of how you have to dress, how you have to build your brand within a new family, manage your image and your perception, how people think about you, how to build rapport, how to build relationships, how to manage your own behaviors and your expectations and judgments, and of course your communication, which is the large part. With this, we also do etiquette. So we will do dining etiquette. How do you have to dine in any circumstance, how you have to be a good host, how you have to be a good guest. And there is so much, and Nanika can share that flyer as well with all the group. And it's on our website, so if you can share the website link also, we will have it. We made some changes, and then it will be updated, I think, in a day or so. So this is a program which is a week-long program, and this will really help people to embark on this journey with full positivity, full preparedness, and absolutely a great motivation to get married, I think. So now they will not feel under pressure कि अरे क्या होगा, शादी करूं कि नहीं करूं, successful होगी कि नहीं होगी, because you're going with the mindset, hey, I know how to make it work, and I will make it work. It's possible.
No, Samira, thank you for this really, really motivating session today. And the fact, I think my big takeaway that no matter what stage you are in your marriage, it's the mindset and that you have to really start investing in yourself to make the marriage successful. So thank you so much. And it was a pleasure as always to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.